All right, so now let's take a look at using a scorpion from a half guard. Now, you can set up a scorpion either before or after you go into a deep half guard when you have outside leg position. So just understand this. If I'm in an underhook, for example, and I want to set up a scorpion, I can move myself into a position where from here, I can just feed my leg over and move into a situation where I now have a scorpion in place. Okay? It's not going to be as strong from this position. I can't really do much with it. But from a situation from here, I can move into a deep half guard, and now I can really start to extend and move my partner around from this position. So I can put my feet in position before I actually shoot into a deep half guard. So I can play in a position like so, where now if my partner pommels her leg and moves around, sure, she can move her leg, but my feet are in position so that as I feed into a deep half, now when she goes to pommel her leg from here, it's not an easy thing. From this situation, if I get into a deep half guard and I don't have my partner's legs scorpion, I can just make a quick transition where I feed my leg over, like so. Again, I never allow my partner to have a free leg where she can just high leg or back step over, and from here I get beat. So whenever I go to switch my legs, I always feed one at a time. I feed my sole to my calf, and then make a transition where from here we can go in and lock a scorpion. When I lock a scorpion from half guard, I lock my legs inside my partner's legs. Okay? The reason being, the only way for her to go to pommel her leg out to freedom would be out in this direction. And as she does that, sure, she can get her leg out if there's no tension. But when I follow my partner with my legs when she goes to move her leg out, this is exactly the direction I want to start moving my partner for sweeps and attacks. If I triangle my legs and scorpion to the outside, your partner's way of escaping is to pommel her leg to the inside. And from here, now she can pommel and now she's gone. So in this situation, I go to an outside scorpion and she just moves her leg inside and she can easily pommel past my legs, and now I have no follow-up attacks. Okay? Whenever I work with scorpions, I'm always looking to take my partner out in this direction to start going into my follow-up moves. Okay? So we're gonna scorpion and figure four our legs to the inside. Okay? With the scorpion, the major advantages I have with a scorpion is that it locks my partner in place and it allows me more freedom to move my partner's near leg around and loosen my grip with the upper body. If I just have a deep half guard and I'm looking to move my partner's legs around, if I just am holding my partner's leg like so, and I start to move my partner's leg and feed it across the body, for example, and I start to try to feed it to positions like so, my partner at any point could just explode up to her feet and just run away from me, and now the leg's going to come out in the way. Whereas if I have a scorpion, I can force my partner's knee to the ground. So now when she goes to get up and explode away from me, the knee can't come off the floor. And this gives me the ability to hold my partner in place while I maneuver myself to a position I want to with my upper body grips. So instead of holding my partner and wedging her in place with the upper body, I wedge her in place much better with the lower body, and this gives me the ability now to work in various situations where I can unlock my hands for extended amounts of time and move my partner's legs or hands where I want to. Whereas if I don't have this, an explosive partner will just stand up, and now because I don't have control of this leg with a scoop grip, she can move away from me. Whereas if I had control of this near hip here, if she tries to run away now, she can't get up. But if I unlock my hands, now she can run away from me. If I have the scorpion, this inhibits her ability to explode away from me and try to move into a situation where she can just run away. Okay? So when I'm playing with scorpions, I can enter before or after I move into a deep half guard. I also make sure that when I'm playing a scorpion from a deep half guard, I play with it not an outside scorpion, but rather an inside scorpion. So if at any point my partner tries to free the leg, I can always follow my partner and start to move her around from here. Okay? And the great advantage of a scorpion is it wedges your partner in place and it gives you the opportunity to unlock your hands and use less wedging around your partner's near leg with your upper body, because the wedging with the lower body is so effective. Okay? So with that in mind, we're going to look at some opportunities now that we can go into and attacks off of this scorpion when my partner has the far leg down and away from me. All right, so now let's looking at feeding into a scorpion when we enter into an initial deep half guard and our partner drives the far leg to the floor. Okay, because ultimately, in general, if my foot starts on the inside, if I start with the butterfly hook, I'm just going to go into X guard and start attacking my partner with various X guard Ashigarami entrances. But if my leg is on the outside and it starts on the outside, a lot of times it's hard to feed your leg to the inside. Okay, the reason being because when you go to make space, when I go to make space from here to insert my leg, my partner's wary of allowing me to push her away from me because now I can start heisting up. So every time I try to make space to insert my left leg, like so, my partner just pushes back into me and brings her leg close to me. So now it's hard for me to insert my butterfly hook, even if I wanted to. Whenever I see this, it's no problem. I'm just going to move into a scorpion. Okay? When I move into a scorpion, you also have the luxury of having your leg relatively safe. Whereas now my legs are unlocked and she can easily just sit back and go into attacks from my leg. Okay? So from this position, we're going to look to feed into a scorpion. The first thing I need to do is I need to start exposing my partner's Achilles tendon and calf muscle to my right foot. Okay? Right now I can't reach it. So from this situation, I'm just going to use a post on my partner's tricep, and I'm going to use a wedge behind my partner's buttocks and tailbone with my right leg to just angle my partner out slightly into this situation like so. Where now her butt comes away from her heel, and I can always step on my partner's far calf muscle and Achilles tendon. And now I have a wedge over my partner's leg like so. Now this wedge by itself is relatively strong. If your partner tries to stand up from here, the knee stays trapped in the floor. And it's hard for your partner to stand up and start going into passing. But when I have a triangle locked with a reinforced wedge, you get much better results. So from here, I'm going to look to make a pass off. Let's rotate. I'm going to look to make a pass off where I have an initial catch my partner's purchase of my partner's Achilles and calf muscle down here, and I look to feed my partner's ankle outside her knee. So if you draw a line that goes straight down from her knee, I want to feed her ankle outside that line, like so. So that from here, I can look to drape my left foot over and expose my partner's leg. Now, my foot goes from above my partner's calf and Achilles to underneath shoelace to shoelace. And now from here, we have an effective scorpion like so. My partner goes to free the leg now. It's a very difficult thing to do. The only way she can pommel her leg effectively is by going out in this direction, which is exactly the direction that I want to go. And I can easily track her leg the entire time. Okay? So we enter it initially. Do a deep half guard, and my partner shoots the far leg to the ground. The first thing I want to look to do is to expose my partner's calf and Achilles. You see here, it's impossible. So I post my partner's tricep, and I just bump her with my right knee out to an angle like so. Now from here, I can always create a purchase on my partner's Achilles like so. I take my left foot and I feed it inside. Right now, you see there's no way that my left foot can feed inside my partner's calf. So I feed my partner's leg to me by pushing her ankle outside of her knee. Now from here, I move back underneath my partner. So to make space, I move out to my left hip. To capture my partner's leg with the scorpion, I move back square. And now we just drape our leg over and we feed to a situation where shoelace to shoelace, we have a scorpion in place and we're ready to go into all of our follow-ups from there. So your partner shoots the far leg to the floor from a traditional deep half guard. Your leg's stuck on the outside. We can't get it back in. We're going to go to a scorpion instead. All right, let's look at a basic heist off of a scorpion from here. All right, so we initially feed in a scorpion from a traditional deep half guard, like so. And from here, we want to look to start heisting and sweeping our partner. In this situation, what I want to look to do is to take my partner out as far as I can over my left hip, all right? What she wants is to stay relatively square and keep me flat on my hips and flat on my back. So I always want to look to create, again, that angular advantage. Where from here, I can start to extend my legs and point my knees out in the direction that I want to move, like so. Now, I start building up to an elbow. My partner is going to be hard-pressed to push back into me now because of the position of her legs. If I try to build to an elbow and she tries to push back into me, I can just extend my legs and it will put pressure on her knee. So as I try to build to an elbow, yes, well, it's true, I have no base behind me, but she has no real ability to push hard back into me because of the fact that her knee is compromised. So as I go to come up to an elbow and she goes to push back into me, it's pretty easy for me to just heist up to an elbow. Now, from this situation, I'm going to unlock my scorpion. The scorpion's purpose is to give you that angular advantage and make it hard for your partner to push back into you. It is possible for me to just heist up right from this position. The problem is, as I go to build to an elbow and build tight, your partner can just aggressively push into you, and now it's hard for you to get up. When you have that extra wedging in place and you can force your partner's foot outside of their knee, you can always create pressure on your partner's knee, and this makes it easy for you to come up to an elbow. Now from here, she's not going to knock you over anymore. You have a good elbow positioning. Once I'm in position, I take my scorpion out and I just place a wedge in the back of my partner's calf muscle. When she goes to try to push back into me and stand up from here, she cannot take the knee off the floor. In order for her to push back into me from here, she has to take the knee off the floor and start walking back towards me. So I keep her leg pinned. As we both go to get up from here, you always win the battle for the heist. And now from here, I just suck my partner back in towards me, and I sit her down to the floor. Worst case scenario, back up. She goes to start getting up to her feet. And from here, we have a good back exposure where now we can come in and chase our partner's back. Okay? So the difference between using a scorpion to heist and just a post on the back of your partner's calf muscle is the ability to create an angular advantage. And this is so important at the highest levels. So when I lock into an initial scorpion, let's say I want to just heist up. Okay, we're in a position like so. I post my partner's calf muscle, I get her foot pinned. From this situation, I try to start moving out and coming up to an elbow. If she just pushes back into me, it's going to be hard for me to get up, especially someone who's much bigger than you. Even if I bring my elbow out and do all the correct things, when she goes to push back into me, she puts so much weight on my far shoulder through this leg that it's hard for me to do anything. When I lock a scorpion, if she pushes back into me too hard, she'll injure her own knee. So as she goes to push back into me and I go to get up, I can easily get up every single time. I just retract my elbow, I extend my legs, and I point my knees, and the heist becomes easy. Now from this situation, I start to create a position where I can post on my partner's calf muscle. Now, as we both go to heist, because her knee cannot come off the floor, I always win the battle for the heist, and it's not based on speed. A lot of people get into these transitions, and whoever moves faster is going to win the scramble. That's not the game we should be playing here. The game we should be playing is negation of movement. I should be making her slower than me rather than trying to make myself faster than her. So no matter how slowly I move, when she goes to get up with me, she cannot move as fast as I can. And now, as we both go to stand up, because of the compromised leg position, she cannot move as fast as I can. And now from here, we can start pulling our partner back and going into situations where we either sweep or create back exposure. Okay? So we can use a scorpion to start heisting up, initially using the scorpion for an angular advantage to build height to an elbow, and then eventually come up with the better position than my partner, building height with my head, and then eventually coming up for the sweep or the back exposure. Okay, so we come into a situation where I get into a scorpion from a deep half guard, and I put my partner's far knee down on the floor. Now, as I spoke about before, this allows you to have more freedom with your upper body, all right? Because my hand is keeping my partner's hip locked in place when I have just a regular half guard or a butterfly half guard, butterfly deep half guard. But when I have the scorpion in place, it allows me to utilize my hands to move my partner's legs into places where I want to, without denying her the ability to explode away and stand up on me. So I'm going to start passing my partner's leg across. All right, from this position, my partner doesn't want to have her leg passed across to this side. She knows if she does that, there's back exposure. So she's going to be doing everything she can to sprawl her leg back and away from me and back heel and all things like that. If I try to just lift my partner's leg, it's going to be an issue. So from this situation, I'm going to look to extend my partner out and get to my left hip like so. I'm just going to use this extension to put my partner's shoulder, or to put my partner's knee, back of my partner's knee onto my shoulder. So as she goes to create a strong back heel and sprawl, I'm just going to look to angle my partner out in this direction and just scoot my shoulder underneath her knee like so. Now, the leg is fully extended. When she goes to sprawl back and move around now, it's impossible. I'm going to look to take a 2-on-1 on my partner's calf muscle down towards the Achilles, and I'm just going to look to pass it from one side to the other. And now from here, there's a variety of different things that we can do. Once the leg is passed, I can stay underneath my partner's leg, or I can come over my partner's leg. Both are very good options. We're going to look at both options now in the coming move. But the primary goal is to pass my partner's leg across, which is something that she absolutely does not want. Because with the scorpion locked in place and the leg passed across, there's exposure on my partner's legs, there's back exposure, there's all kinds of things that we can do from here. So she's going to be trying to pull her heel to her butt and sprawl her legs back and get to a situation like this, where we're not in deep half guard anymore. She's trying to monitor the space between her knees and close her knees together. I'm trying to expose space between her knees and manage the distance between them. So if I just try to hike my elbow up and it's her sprawl and back heel versus my ability to lift my shoulder, and she goes to create a strong body, it's going to be impossible to get her leg into position. So I'm going to look to extend out to my left hip and point my knees again in the same direction. I'm looking to take my partner. Now I don't lift my elbow to bring her leg up. She can still back heel strongly from here and beat me. I just move my shoulder to my partner's knee. And now it's the extension of my body pulling her heel away from her butt rather than the lifting of my shoulder. From here, when she goes to back heel, you're never going to win this battle. So I just sit up. All I'm going to look to do is to look to aim my shoulder, my AC joint, to the back of her knee. When she goes to back heel strongly, I can easily get into a position where I can move the leg. I can also assist this by bringing my knees to my chest. So I can pull her entire body towards me briefly and sit up at the same time. All right? So depending on where the leg is, sometimes all you need is just to sit up slightly. Sometimes if she's back heeling strongly and the knees are coming together, I got to pull my legs in to readjust. And now I'm in position. Now when she goes to back heel, it's my extension of my entire body versus just the back heel of her leg. And we'll always win this battle. Now, we're going to look to take a 2-on-1 on our partner's leg like so. Again, when she goes to back heel, I'm at the long end of the lever now, and it makes the pass off incredibly easy. Now, depending on what she does, we can start to adjust from here. All right? So let's go into attacks now when we pass the leg across from a scorpion. I'm just looking initially at how to pass the leg across without my partner just giving me an issue of sprawling back and back heeling heavily and then pushing me back into a normal half guard. All right, so now after we make the pass off of the leg, let's look to see what we can do from here. All right, now there's essentially two situations you can find yourself in. One where you have a scoop grip and your partner starts to sit back on top of you, or another where you have an overwrap grip and your partner starts to sit forwards in front of you. All right, so let's say we pass the leg across and we have a scorpion in place. All right, now, whenever you take your partner forwards in this direction, I'm always looking to sit up to an overwrap, okay? So whenever I go forwards, like so, I can't sit up right with the scoop grip. I need my elbow on the floor. So I always pass to an overwrap. This allows me to start sitting up into this position like so. When my partner's sitting back on top of me, and I want to take her backwards, now I'm not going to overwrap, I'm going to take her backwards with the scoop grip, okay? So whenever I see my partner sits back on top of me, I'm going to look to start pulling my knees in towards my chest like so. The most important thing is I don't allow my partner to get an underhook, all right? So I don't want to put an underhook in and start to bring this leg down and away from me, which is what we're going to do next. So I always want to make sure that I deny her the ability to get an underhook by keeping my elbow nice and close to my rib cage and immediately off balancing her every time I see her go to put an underhook in. I just pull my knees to my chest and put her hand in the floor, okay? Now, from this position, a scoop grip will suffice. I can use my hand to either monitor my partner's hand to attempt to make the sweep easier, or what I can do is I can lock my hands in a palm-to-palm grip and put my hands over my partner's hip like so. This will give you some more security and make it harder for your partner to take her leg down in this direction and start to sit into a situation where she's in a little bit more control. The reason being I have a wedge over the outside of my partner's hip. So now as she goes to pull her leg down, it pulls into my elbow, and that elbow pulls into my wrist, which in turn pulls as a wedge into her hip. So when she goes to actually pull her leg down, it's a much harder thing to do than if I'm just lifting with my elbow here, go ahead, and my hand slips off. So you can make a choice as your partner goes to post of either trying to control this hand in some way and pull it towards you, either at the wrist or at the bicep, or I control my partner's wrist like so, or if you feel the leg is coming down, we can just lock our hands in like so. Now, I'm going to pull my knees into my chest and start extending the bottom parts of my leg out in this direction and pointing my knees in the direction of the sweep. So it's a pulling of my knees to my chest, but an extension of my lower legs below the knees. So I pull, I extend, and I point my knees in the direction I want to sweep my partner. When she tries to resist, she can post her hands on the floor, but there's so much pressure on my partner's knee that even if she posts two hands on the floor, she has to concede bottom position because there's so much pressure on the knee. If she stays here, there's a lot of pressure on the knee. So my partner has to fall over to alleviate pressure down on her knee. And now from here, I can't put a real braking pressure on her knee. From this situation, what I don't want is to just unlock my legs and think I'm going to come on top. You put yourself in an outside Ashigarami. This is no good. So when I unlock my legs, I look to first heist to an elbow to build height. And now from here, as I go to unlock my legs, I'm immediately going to retract this leg and pommel my foot to the inside position. Okay? So you're going to be in a battle here of can my partner control the long end of the lever of my leg before I get on top, or can I pommel my leg in as a butterfly hook? If I can pommel my leg in as a butterfly hook, now we can easily start to scoop back and away. And now we're in our same scoop grip series where we can play from here, enter into our partner's legs, or what have you. If we find our partner locks into an Ashigarami, and this is no good from here. So if I find that I'm not going to be able to pommel my leg, the second I see I'm beat here, I just shoot my hand to my partner's far hip. And now she goes to pull me into an outside Ashigarami, I look to start pushing across and getting my knee pointed out like so at least I'm safe and not getting heel hooked right away. Okay, so you end up in an outside Ashigarami, but you had a sweep and you're not getting swept. Or you hit a sweep and you're not getting leg locked right away off of it. So my partner has a leg across. We have a scorpion with a scoop grip. Before we can put our partner's hands to the floor and overwrap the leg, she just pushes her way back on top of me. Okay? Whenever I see this, I always fight my partner's hands. So she's trying to put an underhook in. I'm fighting my partner's hands. I'm fighting my partner's hands. I'm controlling the wrist, and I'm not letting her put an underhook in. Or if I feel the legs coming down, I just lock my hands like so. Now I pull my knees to my chest. All right? As I pull my knees to my chest, I extend my lower legs and I point my knees out in this direction. If I just point my knees in this direction, it's going to be hard for you to start coming up on top of your partner. She posts the hands, and you feel like you get stuck here. Post the other hand too. And you feel like you kind of get stuck here. So I first bring my partner's center of gravity further on top of me by pulling my knees to my chest. Now when I extend my lower legs and I point my knees, it puts extreme pressure on my partner's knee. And now from here, she has to fall down to her butt in order to take pressure off of the leg. Now I switch to back to a scoop. I build to an elbow, and now we play a game of pommeling a leg inside to win the battle for the pommel, or as my partner goes to beat me, I just put my hand on the far hip, like so, and I just drive across. So now as she locks an outside Ashigarami, sure she has it locked, but I'm at least in a position where I can go into attacks and counters from here, okay? So before we can get an overwrap, my partner pushes back into me, and we just simply knock her backwards. We play the dilemma of shoulders and hips, where if the shoulders are behind the hips, we move backwards. If the shoulders move far in front of the hips, we move to an overwrap and come forwards. All right, so now this time we pass the leg across. We have the scoop grip, and my partner shoots in an underhook. So the leg comes across, my partner's sitting on top of me. I have a scorpion, but my partner shoots in an underhook. She pulls her heel down to her butt, and she starts getting into a position where she gets chest to chest. And now she's not really in a position to pass me from here. But the problem is, she can use this opposite leg to eventually start moving into positions where she can free the knee. She can bring the leg across, exactly. She can move the leg across and start passing. She can start to free the knee, and she can push on this leg, and the knee can slip out. All kinds of things can happen from here. All right, so this is not a very good position for me. It's hard to recover because of my partner's head and chest position. So when she goes to sit down on top of me, she gets her head into position, and now you see it's impossible for me to pommel an underhook back in. All right, there are certain things I can do where I can move the scorpion around, but you see I can't really move my partner effectively from here because I don't control the space between her knees anymore. All right, like I said, when I move into a deep half guard and a scorpion specifically, my entire goal is based around, all my goals stem from controlling my partner, the space between my partner's knees. Okay, and now without that control, it's hard to move my partner around from here. So now it's hard for me to pommel my underhook back in. So what am I going to do from here? Whenever I see this, my partner goes to pommel an underhook in place. The second I see this, I pommel my hand back inside. Now, if she just drops down from here and she locks her hands and she pulls everything back in, my elbow will still get caught and she'll still have an effective underhook. So the second I see this leg coming down and her going to pommel an underhook in, I immediately move out to the side like so that I blade my body, so now when she goes to punch her underhook in, she can't. And now this leg is going to be coming down towards me. From this situation, I just bump my partner forwards like so, and now my whole game is to get to an ankle. Okay, we're in a situation now where we're losing this battle. So just so you guys know, we're going to go in and we're going to go to our partner's ankle. I do not come to my partner's leg. I do not come to my partner's waist. If I come to my partner's waist, there's a variety of things she can do from here. She can whizzer me down hard as I go to get up. She can step over into triangles. She can do all kinds of things from here. If I just go to my partner's leg, yes, you'll be on a single, but your partner can circle in front of you, and now you're in front headlock danger. So I go to the ankle. When I go to the ankle and my partner tries to circle in front of me as I come up and follow me into a front headlock, it's going to be very difficult because my partner can't circle with the leg. The leg gets left behind. So I have control for left ankle. As she goes to follow into a front headlock and lock guillotines, lock front headlocks, I can lift this ankle, and from here we can go into situations where we can go into attacks, whether it be with wrestling, whether it be with pulling myself back into submissions, or what have you. So if I feel like I'm getting beat from this situation and she pommels an underhook in, I have to go into different follow-ups that are not part of a half guard series. So we have a scorpion in place. She sits back on top of me, and we're in a half guard here. From this situation, she goes to start punching everything inside. The second I see this, I immediately take my elbow inside and I move out to a bladed position like so. Now, her foot's going to come down. We're going to be in a situation like this. If she uses a thumb post, now she can free the knee. If she's slippery, and she can start going in and getting past my legs. So the second I see this, I willingly unlock my legs, and I just bump my partner forwards, and I get to the ankle. Now, wherever we choose to go from here, as I go to win the race, it's going to be me trying to get to my knees and her trying to follow me to a front headlock. So as she goes to follow me to a front headlock, it's going to be hard for her to go in and win that battle because her leg gets left behind. If I just go to behind the knee and she goes to follow me, you always end up here because the ankle can follow. But when your ankle and her lower leg cannot follow the rest of her leg, as she goes to get up to her front head, it becomes hard now, and it makes it easy for me to start going into all of my follow-up attacks, whether it be with wrestling or with jiu-jitsu. Okay. So your partner makes a smart move, puts an underhook in place, back heels with the leg, and manages to control the space between her knees. So you lose that control. And whenever you see that, we just bump our partner forward, go to the ankle, and then hit follow-up attacks that aren't necessarily part of the half guard series. All right, so just as we're playing another basic dilemma between shoulders and hips, we looked at taking our partner backwards with a scoop grip. Now let's look at taking them forward with an overwrap. So I pass the leg across from a scorpion. We get there into a deep half. I go into a scorpion, and we end up like so. From this position, I like to take my partner forwards. So this time, I'm going to pull my knees into my chest. I'm going to extend my lower leg, and I'm going to point my knees out to my left and get her weight on her hands. So this will make it difficult now for her to sit back on top of me. My knees are pointed down towards the floor here. When she goes to push back towards me, it's not an easy thing to do. And this makes it easy to V-grip my partner's leg, like so, shoot my elbow through, and then from here, sit up to my partner's far hip. So I have an Achilles up and over my partner's leg, and now I have a grip over my partner's far hip. Just know, if your partner chooses to sit to this hip, like so, as you go to do this, you'll go into your follow-up attack where you bump your partner forward and get to the ankle. All right? The good news is, because all of the weight is on your partner's hands from here, it's going to be relatively hard for her to do that. As I go to make a switch to an overwrap, I first look to control my partner's knee. So when she goes to switch the legs into that configuration, it's hard. She's forced into a split. Now from here, I use a V-grip to put weight over my partner's leg. When she goes to sit into that configuration, I can shoot my leg through, and before she goes to bring her heel to her butt, as she goes, that's when I catch an Achilles lock. Now, once I have an Achilles, even if I'm not sitting up, when she goes to bring her heel to her butt, it's not an easy thing to do because there's a wedge behind your Achilles now. Now, all I have to do is sit up and retract my elbow and start putting weight over my partner's leg. Okay? So from this situation, we move one, we have control of the knee. Now, from this position, we take our elbow or our hand through and our elbow through. Once our elbow comes through, we use a V-grip to put weight over our partner's leg. What I can't have is my partner sitting back on top of me, so the leg becomes weightless, or now she can take the leg into position. So I put weight over the leg. So now as I go to sit up, there's weight over my partner's leg. So we go knee, we put weight over the leg. When she goes to bring that leg in now, it's not impossible, but it's difficult. And now we can sit up and we can pull our elbow back. We can get to our partner's far waist. Now, we're in virtually the same position we were in before. From here, I'm going to post my leg, or my foot, on my partner's leg like so. I'm going to use this to heist. When my partner goes to enter into my legs or go into an ashigarami from here, my leg looks exposed, but she can't bring her knees together to actually attack an ashigarami. So when she tries to attack my legs, I just heist out. And now we're in a very familiar position. I have the option to move across, come up to my partner's back, and I have the option to start throwing my leg over into a cross ashigarami. Okay, the choice is yours. All right? So we look to make a transition into an overwrap from our initial scorpion. So I have a scoop grip. The big fear is that when I'm going to make the transition, my partner pulls her heel into her butt and sits to her hip. She puts weight back onto me, and she makes it hard for me to start going into my attacks. So I need to keep weight on my partner's hand. I initially have a scoop grip like so, and we go into an overwrap with my hand. When she goes to bring her foot into position, it's difficult. Couple this with the ability to extend my lower legs and point my knees to the floor, I can keep weight on my partner's hands. Now, as I go to come up, I V-grip, and I take my arm through. When she goes to switch her hips and bring her leg into position, there's weight over the leg long enough for me to come up and use that Achilles grip. Now, I post on my partner's far calf muscle. I use this to heist my leg through. My partner has no attacks on my legs here because I dominate the space between her two legs. If she tries to sit down into my legs now, she can't move. This gives me all the time in the world now to heist up to position. And now I just go in either to the far hip and control my partner's back with a turtle position. Or if I want to go into a follow-up leg attack, I control my partner's far hamstring and then I bring my leg over and I roll through to a cross ashi. So a basic series here, not basic, but a series here with a basic dilemma of shoulder and hips. If my partner's shoulders go further beyond, backwards beyond her hips, we use a scoop grip to sweep backwards. If my partner's hips go far beyond forwards, go far beyond her hips in the forwards direction, and we go forwards into an overwrap, and we come up into either leg attacks or back attacks. Let's draw a connection between the lower leg shift and the scorpion. A basic dilemma here. When I go to feed, switch this. When I go to feed a scorpion in before I move into a deep half guard, like so, and I'm trying to go into a deep half, if I have a scoop grip and an underhook and I go to move into a scorpion, if my partner, before I can lock the scorpion, slides her knee out to my hip to go to knee slide, now there's no scorpion, but it moves me right into my lower leg shift series, where now I can start going into all my sweeps and attacks, or situations where I come up and go into attacks my partner from here. Conversely, if I get into a deep half guard and I lock a scorpion, if my partner, all in one motion, just explodes out in this direction, and she's slippery, and I don't have the best scorpion, and she just explodes and her knee comes to the floor on the inside hip, now there's no more scorpion, but you're in an inside leg series here, right? So now, or a lower leg series here. So now, yes, you don't have the scorpion, but you do have a lower leg shift. If you go for the lower leg shift and your partner realizes this, and she shoots her leg back into position, now you go back into a scorpion, okay? So you can play these two in conjunction with one another. If you attempt to go for a scorpion and your partner doesn't like it and she slides the knee out, she thinks she's going to knee slide through, now she's in a lower leg shift. If at any point you go for the lower leg shift and your partner straightens the leg, now you can recapture the knee, now you can go back in and lock your scorpion and go to work, okay? So just so you're understanding this, where everything's starting to come together now, you draw a connection between a lower leg series, where you go into lower leg shifts, and a scorpion. When your partner defends one, she goes right back into the other. So whenever I'm looking for a scorpion and it fails, it's probably because your partner drives the knee to a hip. And if it's the inside bottom hip, she moves right into a situation where I can go into my lower leg shift series and go right on the attack here. Okay? So just so you make that mental connection as you're watching this and going back into training, there's always, when there's one, there's always the other. All right, so that was a series based around me entering into deep half guard and my partner driving her far knee to the floor. Now I'm going to enter into a traditional deep half guard with the outside foot position, and my partner is going to bring her near knee to the floor. Okay? So when I move into a situation where I enter into a deep half and the near knee hits the floor, what can we do from here, and how can I lock a scorpion? All right. First things first, I want to make sure again that there's no underhook in place. So I play either here or here, like so. Now, it depends whether or not you can lock a scorpion, depends on how much of a purchase you have on your partner's leg. If I have my partner's leg trapped like so, and there's a big purchase on my partner's lower leg, I can easily feed myself into a situation where I can lock a scorpion. Okay, so that's not really an issue. If I want to feed into a scorpion from here, and I have my partner's lower leg trap, all I'm going to look to do is again find a way to step on my partner's calf and Achilles calf muscle and Achilles tendon. Anywhere from the calf down to the Achilles is perfect. Now I just drape my left leg over, and now we lock in to a scorpion, and now we can play with all of our attacks from here. The issue comes from a situation where your partner sits further to her top hip than we expected, and from here, it's hard now to expose my partner's Achilles, and she's sitting further towards my head than I previously expected. Okay? Whenever I see this and I can't lock a scorpion, I just use an inside elbow. All right? So I have to get over to my left hip. If I stay square, there's no way my elbow can reach my partner's knee. So I have to move over to my left hip and use an inside elbow escape to push my partner's knee down and retrap my partner's knee. So I'm going to look to push my partner's knee down and bring my legs up simultaneously to trap my partner's upper leg. And now I can always get to my partner's Achilles tendon. Now my left leg drapes over, and we can go in and lock a scorpion once again. So if my partner sits too far towards my head and I want to lock a scorpion, now from here, I feel like I can never feed a scorpion in because there's no purchase on my partner's leg. It's hard for me to get underneath the ankle. And if I do, there's nothing really tangible here I can do. So when I see this, what I want to make sure to do first is, again, avoid an underhook and I just move across to my left side like so. Now, I use an inside elbow escape to push my partner's knee down while I simultaneously bring my knees up to trap my partner's upper leg. And now I feed. I push my left leg down and I feed to my right foot, like so. So that now my left leg can come over, I can lock a scorpion, and now from here, we can go back on the offense with all of our scorpion attacks. So a way to lock a scorpion in a situation where my partner puts the near knee down, and in a situation where she puts the near knee down and she takes away my ability to create a strong purchase on her leg to actually feed into a scorpion using an inside elbow to get back to a situation where I have a strong purchase in my partner's lower leg where I can drape my leg over and then refeed back into a scorpion. So two great ways to enter into a scorpion, provided your partner sits to the near top knee in a deep half guard. All right, so from a scorpion, from a deep half guard, when my partner has a near knee on the floor, the biggest danger to me is her thumb posting on my leg and freeing that knee, okay? So whenever she goes into a deep half guard and she locks an inside scorpion, like so, the biggest danger for her is that I take my hand and I use it to thumb post on the knee. So when she goes to extend my leg, I thumb post and my knee slips free. This is no good, okay? So whenever she locks a scorpion, her primary goal is going to be to return my far knee to the floor. The question is, how can we do this on a talented and resisting opponent? So from a situation where I lock up a scorpion and my partner's near knee is on the floor, I need to return her far knee down to the ground. Now, the issue is when she sits all of her weight onto her near knee, it's going to be hard now for me to just extend my legs. Whenever I see this, I'm going to use a rocking motion from right to left to look to get my partner off balance. So again, constant angle in Kazushi. So from here, I just whip my legs to the right side, like so. My partner will have to push back into me in order to not fall over. As she goes to push back into me, I'm just going to whip my legs back to the left side and extend as I get to my left hip. Okay? What this looks like is my partner's in the knee like so. But I don't want is for her to post on my knee, and now the leg comes free. This is no good for me. So the second I lock up a scorpion, and she has her near knee on the floor, I'm going to immediately move to my right side. If my partner does nothing from here, there's no reason why I can't just fall over, or why she won't just fall over. My partner will always use a hand, or should either just lean forward, or use a hand to post behind her, where now it's going to be hard to take my partner over. As she goes to push back into me, I just extend my legs, like so, and then I pull my knees to my chest, but I extend my lower legs. And then I shoot my partner's knee down to the floor like so. And now we have her far knee on the floor, and we can start to go into all of our follow-up attacks, which we looked at previously. Okay? So the main danger from a scorpion, when she has that near knee on the floor, is a thumb post to my knee. So the second I see this, I'm immediately going to start rocking in this direction. This will off-balance her. Now she goes to keep that thumb post, and she goes to push back into me. I just pull my knees to my chest, and then I pendulum back in the opposite direction. And now I can throw her far knee to the floor, and we can easily win this battle. So we get a scorpion. She goes to thumb post. And now we have her leg split, and we can easily win a battle for getting her far leg down towards the floor. Okay, so that's a great way of using a scorpion to get her far leg to the floor. Now, just so we might get mental connection from the situations before, we can also use all of the techniques that we use from a butterfly situation, from a regular deep half situation with our leg to the outside. All right, so if I want to start to get her far leg to the floor, I can look to start posting on my partner's far lat muscle and start elevating out in this direction. And I can play all of those games from there. If she's directly on top of me and her near knee's on the floor, I can look to bring my knee up. I can look to push myself into an ashigarami. The only difference is now, like we spoke about before, our foot is on the outside. So she does have the ability to start attacking my legs from now. But all of these transitions remain the same. So that from here, I can bring my knee up, and we can get into our partner's legs. I can start to push my partner backwards, and we can slide across our partner's shins. I can start to push my partner backwards, and I can pummel my leg back to a butterfly hook. So now she gets to push back into me. We can roll into positions now. We're going to enter into cross-ashi. So we can play interchangeably between a butterfly hook and an outside foot from a deep half guard position. So just understand that I haven't showed you guys returning the forearm to the floor with all the previous moves from when we had a butterfly hook. So they all still work just the same. Your legs are just more exposed. Okay? Now if I'm going to do it with the scorpion, which I wouldn't be doing if my leg was on the inside, because there's no scorpion from here. It's a misdirection from right side, like so, to left side, and then I shoot my partner's knee to the floor. And now we can follow up with all of our transitions. Okay? All right, so now the main danger associated with a scorpion when my partner has her near knee or top leg on the floor is a thumb post. All right, now after she thumb posts and the knee begins to come free, there are 3 different situations we can find ourselves in where our partner can look to go. They can bring the knee to the inside bottom hip, which brings us to our lower leg shift series. They can bring the knee to the center of our body, like so, not on either hip, but on our center line. And they can bring the knee to the far hip. Okay, so we have to have reactions for all 3 of these. So once we enter into the scorpion, again, if my partner frees the leg and goes bottom hip and tries to knee slice, that's a decent mistake from her, and it brings us into our lower leg series. Another thing our partner can do is she can thumb post on my leg like so, and the knee can slip free, so I feel like I'm losing the purchase on the scorpion. Whenever I see this, all I'm going to look to do is go back to an underhook on my partner and just track my partner's leg down to the Achilles and extend my partner's leg like so. So that from here, we can go in and we can lock our hands and we can start by going in to all of our Hizugatame series. So now my partner's leg is in the center of my body relatively. It's more over to my right hip, my inside hip, but it's still centered pretty well between my 2 hips. And from the situation, we can start to go into our Hizugatame series. Now she falls over to the side to take the pressure off. We make a transition where our legs switch, and now we come into situations where we can break our partner from here. Okay? So just knowing that there are 3 possible outcomes when we have a scorpion in place like so, and our partner starts to thumb post. If my partner thumb posts and she drives a knee to the bottom hip, we go lower leg shift. If my partner goes to separate or goes to a thumb post and the leg's about to come out, if the knee comes all the way out and I lose the scorpion completely, now it's going to be hard to hit a Hizugatame because now her knee is on my belly button, it's not on my hips. So when I go to put pressure on the Hizugatame, she can turn her knee out to the far hip and there's no Hizugatame anymore. So I do this as I'm losing the scorpion. I feel like the toes are about to slip. I track my partner's leg down like so. Now, as she goes to turn her knee out, I just point my knee in towards her body. So when she goes to drive her knee to my far hip, it makes it difficult and it puts pressure on her leg. And now I lock my hands, and we can start going into all of our Hizugatame series from here. Okay? So we backtrack a little bit now, and we go back into a Hizugatame series. If my partner goes near hip, we go lower leg shift. If I feel the scorpion's just about to slip and her knee isn't completely free yet, I go right to Hizugatame, I put pressure on my partner, and I force her to choose between getting submitted, rolling over to the left, or driving her knee out to defend the Hizugatame, if she can, to the right, and then she puts me into a lower leg shift. Okay? So those are 2 of the situations that we have that we talked about. Now let's look at dealing with a partner who drives their knee all the way to the far hip and starts to give me real issues, which is what she wants ultimately, to drive into a 3/4 mount. Okay? Okay, so our third and final situation is when my partner thumb posts and knee slips to the far hip, which is what she wants. Ultimately, her goal is to go from a situation where she's in deep half, she slips the knee, she drives across into a situation where now she's in basically a 3/4 mount, where now she has the option to either one, kick her leg back so that she can free her leg and sit on top of my legs, so sit all the way on my legs, and now she can start to crush me from here and pass my guard. So if she slides the knee across, as she slides the knee across, she uses that momentum to kick the leg back. My arm comes down, and it's basically her sprawl against my ability to lift my elbow up with my shoulder, and I'm always going to lose that battle. Okay? Or she gets into a position now where she exposes my arm, and now she can sit to a Shira Senkaku, and this is no good for me. Okay? So, what do we do from this situation? The first thing I have to worry about is my elbow position. Okay? A good submission artist is always going to look for an Oshiro Senkaku first. So if my partner can get her knee to my hip and her knee beats my elbow for the inside real estate, I'm going to be in trouble from here. Because now her knee is closer to my body than my elbow is. So she has the inside position. This is absolutely unacceptable. Okay? So as my partner goes to drive across to my far hip, I put my elbow right inside of my partner's knee and I glue my elbow to my own body. So now as she goes to drive to my far hip, as she does that, I just push her knee further than she wanted it to go. She wants her knee connected to my hip. I want her knee somewhere out here with a space between my hip and between her knee and my hip. Now from this position, I'm going to push my partner's knee down and just pull my knee up. The way that I do this is very specific. I can't just push my partner's knee into my leg and I can never never trap my partner's knee again. I have to scissor my legs so that her knee comes off the ground. So I use my top leg to push down and away from me to raise her knee off the floor. Watch what happens. That's what I need. Like so. So as I scissor my legs, my top leg shoots away from me. My left elbow wedges her in place. And now I just pull my left knee in like so. And now from here, we're in a situation where if she pushes back into me, we can start to monitor her leg and fight for a scorpion. Or if she stays on her far leg, then we can start to go in and lock scorpions from here. All right? The main thing is that I never allow my partner to get her knee to my hip. If you can ensure this, you'll have follow-up attacks. If you don't, you're going to be in some trouble here. So as my partner goes to drive across, we take our elbow inside of our partner's knee, and we just hit a quick knee elbow escape, or from here I scissor my legs, I lift my partner's knee, and I recapture the leg. She can put all of her weight on her knee. Doesn't make a difference. The scissoring of the leg will always lift the knee enough to recapture. And now we can go into all of our follow-ups, which we looked at previously. Okay? Now, let's say this time, my partner goes to thumb post and she goes to drive the knee across. And I feel like it's going to be hard for me to trap her knee. So she brings all of her weight to her knee, like so, and she really sits down onto that leg. So I feel like now I go to scissor the leg, there's just no space for anything to move. Whenever I see this, all I'm going to look to do is knee elbow escape, like so, and bring my top knee into place. When she goes to stop me from bringing my knee in, it's pretty easy for me to bring my knee in. The dilemma is this. She can stop me from lifting her knee, or she can stop me from bringing my knee in. She cannot do both. So if we're in a position like so, and she's in here, because her weight is relatively centered and she's not sitting all the way to the side, there's no way that she'll be able to stop me from lifting her knee off the ground. All right, if she tries to stop me from lifting the knee off the ground, I will always bring my knee inside and recapture her knee. If she tries to stop me from bringing my left or my right knee inside, and she just sits down on my chest, just here, now there's no way I can get my knee inside. You see, my knee's trapped. But I can always lift her knee up. If you see, however, my partner leans her weight more to her right side, and now from here, you feel like she sits down on my leg, and it's impossible to get the knee off the floor. Now it's going to be hard for me to recover. Now, when she tries to stop me from bringing my top knee in, go ahead. It's impossible. Once my top knee is in place, I will make space now for my bottom knee to come in place. And now we have the inside knee position. Now it's a relatively easy thing to start moving into X-guard Ashigarami variations and going into follow-up attacks on my partner. Okay? You have to be able to react to these three situations when you're playing a deep half guard. Your partner goes, you play a scorpion, or you just play a regular half guard. Let's say I'm playing a regular deep half guard. No scorpion. My partner thumb posts a leg. This is a problem for me now. Okay? What everyone tries to do is they try to just Hulk their way out into a situation like this without having a butterfly hook, and they're going to come up and the legs get stuck. You can't push your partner away from you. Your partner starts turning into you, and before you know it, you start running into problems. Okay? You're never going to beat someone who knows how to move and someone who's athletic from this position. If she goes into a deep half sweep and she just tries to Hulk her way into a situation where she can get up on top of me, I'm always just going to slide and turn and face. And now I have entrances into my partner's legs. I can pass from here. I can start to go into three-quarter mount. There's a ton of things I can do from here. That is not the appropriate response. The appropriate response is to use an inside elbow escape. So when I'm in any kind of deep half guard with a scorpion or what have you, and my partner starts to free the knee, if she goes to the inside hip, we go lower leg series. If she goes to the center, we use the Hizugatame series. If she goes to the far hip, I cannot just try to come out in this direction without pommeling my legs. This is never going to work on a high-level person. She's always going to be able to counter. So my appropriate response is always to play a simple dilemma game between using an inside elbow, between recapturing her knee and bringing a top knee back inside. If she drives a knee down like so, and she has her hips relatively centered over my head, and she's not putting all of her weight down onto her right leg, when she goes to stop me from bringing the knee in, I can always recapture and then play from here. Whether it be locking a scorpion, putting my partner's far knee in the floor, or just coming up, going back into a lower leg series, going back into an underhook, coming back into a regular underhook with the half guard. However you want to play from here, you can at least recover. Now here's a dilemma. When she goes to drive her knee to the floor, this time, instead of allowing me to lift her knee, she sits all of her weight back onto my hips. So now it's going to be almost impossible in the elbow escape. It's going to take a lot more energy. When she goes to really put weight on that knee, it's not impossible, but it's not easy. A much easier option is always to bring the top knee in first. So I just extend my elbow away like so, and I bring the top knee inside. Once the top knee's inside, when she goes to crush me now, the bottom knee can always come inside. Now from this situation, I can always bring my knee in and look to go into follow-ups with attacks from Ashigarami. The good news is, because your leg's inside, if your partner tries to take a leg over your head, like so, I have an ability to start knocking her forward and following her up. So that now from here, as we both going to come up, I can run to the far side and look to go into my offense right from there. Okay? So you have to have the ability to play between these three positions, provided you're in a deep half guard and your partner thumb posts the knee and frees the leg. If she goes inside hip, you go lower leg shift. If she goes center, you go Hizugatame. If she goes far leg or far hip, you use an inside elbow. Okay? If you don't understand this and you try to play a deep half guard, you're always going to get beat by someone who uses a simple thumb post counter to free that knee and then work from there. All right? This is so important when you're playing deep half guard. All right, another great move that we can enter into when we go into a deep half guard with outside of foot position, just a standard deep half guard, is the waiter sweep. Okay, and again, you can play a basic dilemma game between shoulders and hips here. So when I enter into an initial half guard, okay, waiter sweep is one of the first sweeps that we learned from a half guard, very traditional half guard play here. Whenever I go to enter into a waiter sweep, I want to first look to get my knees pointing out to my left and be on my left hip like so. This will always expose my partner's ankle to my hand. It's going to be impossible for me to fish my partner's ankle from a situation where I'm flat or facing her. So I want to whip my partner out to my left and point my knees to my left and expose my partner's ankle, or I can just get a purchase here of my partner's ankle down by the foot. Now I'm going to look to bring my left leg into a position like so, or I can put a bend in my partner's leg. If she has a straightened leg, it's going to be hard for me to do that. So I'm going to look to immediately take my leg up, then extend my leg. So that as she goes to straighten her leg, I just extend my leg, and the more she straightens her leg, the more she off balances herself. So she has to concede. Come back up. She has to concede the fact that her leg now is in a bent position, like so. Now I play a basic game. If my partner's shoulders are further behind her hips, like so, I go to my right. If my partner's hips are far in front, or my partner's shoulders are far in front of her hips, I don't go in this direction because I can't sweep her in this direction. I just go straight up instead, right? So your basic waiter sweep is you get your partner's shoulders going far behind her hips. From this direction, I just use a pendulum where I get my partner's momentum going, and from here, I start to come up on my partner. Now, she can post her hands on the floor. When she goes to heist back on top of me, I just extend my left leg down to the floor. I dominate the space between my partner's knees. Now the big danger from here is she starts to take her leg over my head to enter into my leg. This is no good. So I want to create a situation where I wedge her leg between my hand and my head. So when she goes to attack my legs from here, I still dominate the space between her knees. And now we have some great options from here. We can come up and stuff the knee, move into a tight waist. We can go into an under overpass. We can move into various different passing positions. We can also go into a situation where I post a cross shoulder post to my partner's shoulders, because she can't come forward and fight to get to my head or to do anything from here. And now I just slide my shin across my partner's hips. I slide across, spinning the leg. Now we can go to various other entries on our partner with the legs. Okay? So we're going to look to go into a waiter sweep. Without the gi, there aren't as many options with gripping the gi and various different grips that we can use from a waiter sweep. So with the gi, without the gi, our primary goal is going to be to put the shoulders behind the hips and sweep, or in front of the hips and going for leg entrances. So I look to expose my partner's ankle by whipping the leg up to my left, like so. Now I take this purchase on the outside of my partner's ankle, like so, and I just throw my left leg up, and we put a bend in our partner's leg. Now, I look to start seeing where my partner's shoulders are going. If they're directly over my partner's hips, it's pretty easy to knock them behind my partner's hips. So I use a pendulum, and I knock my partner down, and now, as she goes to start coming up on top of me, I extend my left leg, and I put her butt on the floor. When she goes to throw her left leg over and attack my legs, I have a connection of my hand to my own head. So that now I can start building to a base, coming up for passing positions, or taking a cross shoulder post, moving to a reverse knee on belly, and now from here we can start spinning the leg, backstepping, what have you from there. Okay? So if the shoulders are behind the hips, we're just going to look to go backwards. More than likely, when you get into a waiter sweep position, your partner will scoop the leg, she'll expose, and she'll put you in here. More than likely what's going to happen is your partner's not going to sit upright. If your partner sits upright, you're always going to be able to fall, knock your partner backwards in this direction. More than likely, your partner's going to lean forwards and attempt to start dealing with this hand. If they can push this hand down, and then from here they can straighten the leg and come back into a situation like so. So my goal is always going to be to lean with my shoulders forward. So now when she goes to rock me backwards, it's impossible. If I can do this, I can easily start peeling this grip off, and then in various situations, coming up, pummeling my leg to safety, and going into my attacks. So knowing that a talented opponent is going to be leaning forward most of the time, I have to have an answer for this. If I try from here, if she leans her weight forward, if I try from here to knock her backwards, you feel like you can't go anywhere. Whenever I see this, I can't go in this direction. She can just post her foot out, and it's going to be difficult to sweep her, and it'll lead her into escapes. She needs to get my wrist down to the floor. So if I start tilting to my left side, I'm just aiding her and pushing my wrist down. So this is one of the few times I stay flat from a deep half guard, because from here, she has no ability to underhook me. Go ahead. She tries to underhook me and use it effectively. Go ahead. She's in the wrong position too. Whenever I see my partner's leaning forward and a backward sweep is not possible, I'm just going to bring my partner up towards my head by pulling my knees up, and I'm going to extend my left leg away from me. This will always create space for my right knee to come in. She can put all of her weight on me. She can get as heavy as she wants in base, lean forward, and she can try to keep her weight down. A simple pull of my knees to my chest with an extension of my left leg will always allow my right knee to come inside. From this situation, I bring my right knee towards my partner's hip. Now, I lift, I pommel my leg through, and now you're in a situation where you can move above your partner's knee. But I don't want us to be below my partner's knee, and now she goes to run away, and the scoop grip is not effective. So I'm going to make this initial switch. I pommel my knee inside. From this situation, as I'm pommeling my leg to the inside position, I can always do this. It doesn't require flexibility. It just requires an extension of my right leg and hip. I make space, and now I move from below the knee to above the knee with a scoop grip. Now your partner can do all she wants to try to crush you. It's useless. She can't control me. I can easily put her hand on the floor. Your partner can do all she wants to try to run away from you. I have a scoop grip. And as she goes to run away from me, go ahead. I can easily pull myself with that scoop grip into my partner's leg successfully and go to all of my attacks. Okay? So, a basic game for a waiter sweep. We go into the deep half guard. We're playing here. We whip our partner and we expose our partner's ankle like so. We try to send our partner backwards in this direction. We feel as though we can't do that. I can see her shoulders leaning forward. Now before she exposes my wrist, I have to make sure that I'm doing something from here. Because once she exposes my wrist, now she can take her leg back to relative safety and start to go into her counters. So whenever I see this, I pull my knees to my chest and I insert my right leg by extending my left leg. My left hip shoots up, my right knee comes in. Now when your partner goes to crush you, it's not an easy thing. You have so much of the inside real estate. Now the key is to switch from a situation where my left leg is on the inside to my left leg moving to the outside of my partner's leg. Right now I can't enter into any Ashigaramis with my partner. So I need to make space with my right leg for my left leg to come in. And as I do this, I need to switch to a scoop grip. So my hand comes up, I switch to a scoop, and now my leg comes through. Now as my partner goes to come in and crush me, we can always trade an angle with that cross lat frame. We can throw our legs into place, going into X guard, Ashigurami entrances for the whip. So just the last feed. She can say as heavy as she wants on me. I can always bring my knees to my chest and create situations where my knee can come in. Okay? From this situation, you gotta talk to me so you don't fall. From this situation, I always make space now to feed to a scoop grip. I lift, I pommel my leg to the inside, and now I can always clear any control she has on my head trying to crush me, and I can make a transition into attacks on my partner's legs. So again, a basic dilemma between shoulders and hips. If her shoulders are backwards, you sweep her backwards and come up on top. If she's leaning forward to try to strip your grip off, you have to find an ability to enter into the legs before she can pin your wrist to the floor and pommel her leg to a position of relative safety. All right, now just as we did with the butterfly deep half guard, our last segment will be our opponent steps over our head. Okay, so we get to a deep half guard, and now it's actually my partner's best interest, and one of my partner's best interests, to step over my head, because now I have the outside foot position, and now she can start sliding into a cross Ashigurami and entering into my legs. Or she has the option to sit into a situation where she's in cross Ashi, but she turns towards me, and as she goes to turn towards me, she puts a cross face in, and now she can start putting a cross face in like so. She can drive her knee to the floor. She can pass. She can do a whole bunch of things from here. Okay? So if she gets to that position, we're more talking along the lines of guard retention, but there are some things we can do to follow up the second my partner takes the leg over the head. Okay? So we're in a half guard. We move to a deep half guard. my partner feeds the leg up and over the head, like so. And she does this either by pushing my head down or my head's in the wrong position, or she just slides the leg over. More realistically, it'll look like this. So I'm in a deep path guard. She pushes my head down and she just slides the knee over. Now, as she starts to move from here, I look at her reaction. If my partner stays here for any amount of time, it's pretty easy to pummel a butterfly hook into place. So I just fish from my partner's ankle, I make a pass off, and I put a butterfly hook in. If you can't step on your partner's calf, you can go underneath and you can feed a butterfly hook in. Now you can feed your partner's hands to the floor, sit up, and now you're in a position to attack either cross hashigurami or go into attacks on your partner's back from a turtle position. More than likely, this is all happening fast, and as she goes to sit, I don't have that opportunity. The main thing I want is to beat my partner's arm. If she can get an underhook or a crossface, it's going to be problems for me. So the second I see her leg go across, I immediately reach up and I take a reverse tight waist on my partner. So now as she goes to put a crossface in, that's not an easy thing. Now, I take my inside leg and I trap my partner's ankle like so. So I can start to build up to a power prop and move to an elbow. As my partner goes to sit, I'm just going to look to drag my partner across so that I pull her onto my right hip and into a position where now I can beat my partner's hips with my knee. Now I just sit my partner down into my hip, and now we sort of go into a back take where we're looking at ways now to attack my partner's back and insert a hook. Okay? So we go into a situation where we're in deep half guard. She goes to sit across. The second I see her leg come across and she goes to sit and turn the corner, I come up and I go to a reverse tight waist, like so. Now that her leg is in the center of mine, I always make sure that I drape my leg over. I start building to an elbow. If I stay on my shoulder, she'll eventually be able to turn an angle and put a crossface in. And now everything is lost from here. So I always build height to bring my head into a position of relative safety. Now when she goes to crossface me, she can't. Now I start pulling my partner across and scooting out and around the corner. From here, I just continue to scoot, scoot, scoot until I get into a position where now I can go on the attack and go into various attacks to my partner's back. Okay? So she pushes the head down. She tries to enter into a cross hashi where she can either go into follow-up passes or attacks on my legs. And my first counter is always going to be looking for my partner's back. All right, so the obvious question is, what are some follow-ups from here? Again, not really half guard per se, but it starts from half guard, and we covered an opponent stepping over my head from various other positions, so we'll cover it from here. So my partner goes, she steps over my head, she goes to sit into a cross hashi, and from this situation, or either a cross hashi, or she goes to get, most of the time, put a crossface in place, and I beat my partner into this position like so. Now, as my partner, a lot of the times, realizes their back is about to get taken, what will happen is as I go to pull my partner across my body, my partner will just sag her hips back and away, her arm will come in, an underhook will come into place, a near side underhook, and now she'll drive forward and flatten me out. And step over, and now you're getting beat from here. The second I see that I can't pull my partner on top of me, my leg makes a switch from a hook of my partner's leg to a butterfly hook of my partner's opposite leg. So now, as she goes to scoot away from me, I can't take her back, and as she goes to scoot away and bring that elbow inside, I just push her to the floor, and then we use a basic dilemma once again between a back take and a sweep. If my partner comes towards me and I can pull her across my body, I can easily expose my partner's back. If she denies me the back take by moving out and away from me, she gives me an easy sweep. All right, so pretty basic again, series based around dilemmas. They're always based around dilemmas. So as my partner goes, takes the leg up and over the head. She goes to sit through, I go to a tight waist and I beat my partner's underhook and crossface. I sit up to a position of relative safety with my head, and now my right foot is dealing with my partner's right leg. From here, I'm looking to scoot across and pull my partner into position. If she slides her hips back, and I have no response for this, I'm just trying to take her back, she will always beat me to the punch here. So the second I see I can't elevate my partner's hips over mine, I just make a switch from my right leg, monitoring her right leg, to addressing her left leg. And now from this situation, as she goes to scoot back and away, I just put a butterfly hook in. Now, once the butterfly hook is in and she has her hand free, no matter what she does from here, it's going to be hard for her to win this battle. As we both go to get up as hard as we can, go ahead. I can always jump across and win the battle for top position. So again, a basic dilemma. My partner steps over my head when I have the outside leg position. Because I can't expose my partner's back in the traditional way by putting a butterfly hook in and coming out the back door, I have to make some changes here and use other back take dilemmas in various ways between sweeping my partner and dragging my partner across the body to go into a cross-body ride. Okay, so keep that in mind. The differences between a partner stepping over the leg when you have an inside butterfly hook versus an outside foot with a traditional deep half guard. All right, so we looked at entering into a deep half guard with a butterfly hook. Now let's look at how we can backtrack and bring everything into one coherent system. Whereas if we enter into a deep half guard with an outside foot position and we don't want to stay with an outside foot position, maybe we're afraid of our partner attacking our legs or we can't get the off balance we need, how can we enter into a deep half guard and then pommel my leg to, or my foot to the inside position and get to a butterfly hook? All right, so we enter into a deep half guard and we find that from here, I'm trying to pommel my leg in as a butterfly hook. People have so much trouble with this. People always ask me questions on this when I'm teaching deep half guard. How can I get a butterfly hook in if I feel like I'm just not dexterous enough? Whenever I see I'm having a hard time pommeling a butterfly hook into place, the first thing I look to do is I look to see if I can pommel the wrong leg in underneath my partner's ankle. Right? So the first thing I'll always do, whether I'm here or whether I'm here, I will always look to pommel my right leg, my inside leg, underneath my partner's leg first. And now I look to feed it to my opposite leg, or I have a butterfly hook in place. Okay? So I have an initial half guard locked. I look to pommel my inside leg, like so. Now I lift. As I go to lift, my partner, there's always a chance my partner can backstep from here. So the switch has to be fast. I go one, and then as I go to make a switch, I pinch my legs together. My knees pinch together and my feet pommel. So when she goes to backstep, I have some wedging around my partner's leg. As I make a switch, before I open my knees, I pass my leg across. Now my partner goes to backstep from here, it's a difficult thing. And now I have a butterfly hook in place where now I can start to come out the back door and I can go into all the follow-up, all the previous attacks from a butterfly deep half that we did before. Okay? So I'm always going to find myself in a position where I first try to go with the inside leg to the outside leg. Okay? Now, let's say my partner's relatively down like so. I can also pommel to a position where I feed my inside leg underneath my partner's knee, and as I lift, my butterfly hook comes in above my partner's knee. So now I can start to make space to bring my legs inside and go into attacks my partner's legs. So you can always look to position your final butterfly hook wherever you want based upon the lift on your partner's leg. So if I want to get my butterfly hook above my partner's knee, if I just lift a little bit, it's going to be difficult. But if I hit a big lift with my right leg, now I can pommel my leg in above my partner's knee, which is where I want it to be. If I want to go below my partner's knee, I just need to make a small pass off and go below my partner's knee. Okay? So you can always go from an outside foot position when you're in a regular, traditional deep half guard to pommeling a foot in this very specific way. I can look to get to my partner's ankle with my inside foot and then pommel it to my outside foot. And I use a pass-off method where I pinch my knees together. So when she goes to rip her leg out, it's not an easy thing. When she goes to backstep, it's not an easy thing. And from here, I can make it one pass off, and I can secure my partner's leg. And there's always going to be cases where you just feel like you do not have access to your partner's ankle, or she sits so far up towards your head where you feel like, okay, what am I going to do now? I can't get access with my outside leg, and I can't get access with my inside leg. What should I be doing from these positions? Whenever I see this, I immediately start moving out and over to my left hip, like so. So now I can go to my inside elbow series. I can push my partner's knee down. I can bring my leg up and trap it. Now you can always make a recovery, make a pass off to an inside butterfly hook, okay? If your butterfly hook is below your partner's knee, I'm always looking to come out the back door. And if your butterfly hook is above your partner's knee, now you can start to look to go into attacks on your partner's legs in various ways, okay? So in a situation where I feel my partner is so far up, where I just absolutely cannot pummel my legs, this is a real issue. People will try to pummel and fight from here. I always go back to my inside elbow series. I force my partner's knee to my outside hip, which is technically what she wants. But because I have an inside elbow, it makes it easy for me to recapture my partner's knee. And now I can easily make pass-offs to a butterfly hook. And then from here, if I want to adjust above the knee, I can either lift with my, I can lift with my inside leg, like so, and pommel above. Or if I feel like I pommel below, but now let's say I want to enter into my partner's legs, I don't want to go out the back door. How can I adjust my butterfly hook to be above my partner's knee? I use another inside elbow series, where from here, I go inside elbow, I just bring my knee up higher. So if I start initially, if I pommel inside from an outside leg position, and I feel like I'm too low in the leg, I want to look to go into my partner's leg locks here. Maybe they're weak with leg locks, whatever the case is. Whenever I see this, and I want to bring my butterfly hook up higher, I just move out to the side, and now from here, I use that inside elbow to start recovering. And now I'm in a position now where I can go into all of my attacks that we talked about previously. Okay? So we can start with an inside leg, the butterfly hook and deep half guard, and move to an outside leg. But we can also move into a deep half guard with an outside foot position, and then use subtle movements to pommel to an inside foot position where I have a butterfly hook once again. Either using an inside leg pass off or using an inside elbow to make space to always have a purchase on my partner's ankle to at least get a butterfly hook in, and then I can dictate where my butterfly hook is depending on where what attacks I want to go into. Okay, if I want to go out the back door and I want to exit and attack my partner's back, I go with the butterfly hook in the lower leg. If, on the other hand, I want to start entering into my partner's leg, then I use an inside elbow a second time. I bring my knee up high and I look for space for my knees to come inside, where I can go into X guard and Ashigarami variations. Okay, so just a simple and specific way to pommel from an outside position to back to an inside position when you're already in a deep half guard. All right, so I think we have like 7 hours or over 7 hours of actual content, and we have the rolling footage. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. This is pretty much everything there is to know, everything that I know about no-gi half guard. Obviously there'll be some more advancements in the future that I'll add in a future DVD in 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the line from now, just like I'm going to do with guard passing eventually. But you know, this is a pretty comprehensive system from beginning to end, from a butterfly half guard, a knee shield half guard, and a deep half guard. All right. The important thing to understand is that there's always going to be an interface between other guards and half guard and other guards. You cannot just expect to play a half guard game without being a master at Ashigarami attacks, without being a master at X guard attacks, without being a master at leg locks, without being a master at coming up into wizard versus underhooks, without being a master at attacking turtle position. You need to be able to integrate these systems together in order to be successful at the highest levels. If you're only good at half guard, you'll find yourself in a situation where you get very close to good attacks, very close to sweeps, and very close to submissions, but you just will be 95% of the way there, but you won't have the last 5% to actually get results that you want, where you're finishing people, taking their back, or sweeping them, okay, or leg locking them. So you have to understand that if you want to be good at half guard, you need to be good at the other guards and the other systems as well. And if you want to be good at the other systems, you need to be good at half guard as well. You can't be good at a seated guard or a supine guard, and then if you get forced into half guard, you just get crushed in your guard path. This is no good. Okay, this is be gaping holes in your game all over the place. Okay. With that being said, people are going to ask about this. I didn't add being flattened out from a half guard for a specific reason. There's too many similarities between bottom half guard and guard retention once you get flattened out. So if your partner sits to a reverse underhook or controls your head or uses an overback grip or double unders, any of these, top head and arm, any of these situations where your partner sits through like so and pins you and you're flattened out, or your partner gets to a top head and arm, your partner gets to a double underhooks, and your partner pins you. There's too many similarities between going from offensive half guard versus going from a guard retention situation right into an offensive cycle. Okay, so it gets too kind of confusing where I could add some of it here into half guard, then I'd have to repeat it in guard retention, and it would just be a mess and confusing for me, confusing for you, and it wouldn't make much sense. Okay, so I chose purposely to leave that out because it's more of a retention situation. Your partner's beaten you, she's won the battle for upper body inside position, and she's winning that battle. She's winning the battle for inside position, and she's getting closer and closer to a pass. So it's more along the lines of guard retention where, okay, now I'm close to getting my guard pass, and I have to go in from a situation where I'm in a purely defensive cycle where she's chest to chest in half guard, and I have to look to not only escape and recover, but find a way to go into an offensive cycle after I recover. So all of those positions where my partner's beating me and a lot of the race to get chest to chest, we're going to go in and discuss those and analyze those in a retention series, which is going to come shortly after this. So I chose purposely to leave those out. Other than that, I think I have everything in there that you guys could possibly want. If there is something that I missed or something that you want to see, please let me know about it. If it's low percentage, I'll tell you I didn't teach it because it's low percentage. Or if I just forgot something, please bring it to my attention, and I promise to go over it with you, either on Instagram or on the Fanatics app or the Fanatics page on Facebook, or in person if you see me. Thank you to BJ Fanatics. Thank you to Sunny, who just got a purple belt and had to enjoy it by just sitting here miserable. Her knees are all messed up, and she's been on her knees for days in half guard, so she's like miserable and complaining the entire time. But nonetheless, thank you. And thank you guys, of course, to always being supportive, always purchasing the instructionals, always asking questions about it. Because you guys don't understand, when you ask me questions on Instagram or Facebook or in person, it makes me think about jiu-jitsu more. So when you guys come and watch the DVDs, sure, it makes you better, but it also makes me better when you start asking me questions about a certain position where I can give you guys definitive answers on why you do this, how you do this, and why you do this. All right? So thank you guys, of course. I wouldn't be here without you. And we'll look forward to the next one.
Thank you, guys.